I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Schmack-a-macabre, it's time for the only news that matters. And there wasn't any kind of trend that Rush didn't want to welcome with open arms back in their prime. No one should have been expecting them to hop on the disco bandwagon by any means. But if something caught their ear in the right way, it wasn't hard for them to translate that down to their fingers where they started working on new material. But even on classic albums, Geddy Lee could find that little bit of fluff that never needed to be there in the first place. Because at the risk of alienating every single Rush fan in existence, no period of their career isn't without fault. A lot of people could easily... I don't agree with that, by the way. There's many faultless albums they released. But anyway, let's continue. A lot of people could easily point to the keyboards era as the only time the band went wrong. But Grace Under Pressure is a masterpiece of the 80s. I actually agree with that. Especially when measured next to the more nutty stuff they created at the very beginning of their career. Caress of Steel may be a fine album, but the song The Necromancer is bound to apply only to a handful of Tolkien nerds rather than any prog fan. Alright, look, I'm not a Tolkien nerd. And I wouldn't really consider myself a prog fan. But the Necromancer friggin' rules. Oh my god. I'll put that above anything off Grace Under Pressure. But I love Grace Under Pressure. But the Necromancer, give me a break. That shit rules. But hey, that's this dude's opinion that I'm reading this. But yeah, so there's a reason I'm reading this because of the headline. I was like, oh, that headline? That's the only news that matters headline if I ever heard of one. And you don't know what the headline is yet, but I will say it's coming up. All right, let's keep reading. The band clearly needed to streamline themselves, but since 2112 became one of their best-selling albums, there wasn't any need for them to change things up too drastically. They had made a masterpiece of a song that didn't need to rely on the biggest sounds of the time. And yet, when they got even more cerebral on their next album, the rest of the cult audience managed to carry them through every single cycle. All right, we're getting to it. I'll just tell you now, this is what the headline says. The headline says, the one Rush song, Geddy Lee said, didn't age well. But yeah, you already read that headline. Why am I repeating that? All right, let's keep reading. So, really, the only people who could stop them were themselves. And after Hemispheres, they were in need of a shakeup. They had many moments where they could have made prog epics. But when they began work on Moving Pictures, they finally found the perfect balance of keyboard textures, rock and roll swagger, and the hint of prog grandeur to put them in everyone's good graces. Although most of the album is absolutely stellar, Lee did have a few albums where returning to songs like The Camera Eye saying, for me, it didn't age very well. That's one of the reasons that it didn't make it on our show for so long. Doing the album in its entirety enabled us to revisit it. And I have to say, rather sheepishly, that I found myself really love playing that song every night. But then again, what was stopping them? Sure, some of the keyboards might be overbearing when transitioning between sections, but that's what the song calls for. Neil Peart had written the entire tune based around his trip to New York and London, and the central riff is the epitome of what it feels like working your way through an airport trying to figure out which terminal you're supposed to arrive at. Granted, there are more than a few times where the keyboards are a bit too squeaky for the average fan, and it's not like you can't hear the influences on display. The band clearly has a love for bands like The Police, but whereas a song like Invisible Sun works perfectly in the right context, the keyboard lines on a few of their sections seems to have the year 1981 tattooed across its forehead. If you look at it in the context of the record, though, the camera eye does serve its purpose as a farewell to the more epic side of their discography. They weren't going to get another opportunity to make this kind of tale again, so they might as well go out with a song that's all about traveling to pastures, new pastures. All right, there you go. It's Camera Eye. I know that Geddy and Alex both slammed the song Taishan. Was that the name of it? I don't like that whole album. I think that's their worst album. Now, him saying the Camera Eye, I gotta say, it surprises me, because I did see them do the Camera Eye on the Moving Pictures tour, and then I saw the Exit Stage Left tour. They did them both nights. And then I remember, like he said, they did that whole Moving Pictures album, Time Machine thing. And I don't know if it was Time Machine, but the show where they did the whole Moving Pictures album, they did it again. And the very last tour, which was the real last tour, this tour that's going on, I'd love to see it, but I ain't paying that much money. But in 2015, I traveled to New Orleans to see the Farewell Rush show. And the Farewell Rush tour, I mean. And they played Camera Eye that night. Now, I never liked that song. I've never ever liked Camera Eye. I don't like Tom Sawyer either. I know Tom Sawyer is the biggest hit. And Camera Eye is like probably the most obscure song on the album, I think. And both those songs are the only two songs I don't like off Moving Pictures. I don't like how each side of that album starts. But everything else, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Limelight, Witch Hunt is so amazing. The last song, Everybody Got the Deviate, Vital Signs. Awesome album, but those two songs I can do without. I really can. But seeing them play it live, though, it was nostalgia, you know, because I used to have Moving Pictures on 8-track back then. And and I remember I had an 8-track player that you couldn't change the channels on it. The little channel changer was broken. So when you put an 8-track in there, you got to listen to the whole damn thing. And I heard Camera Eye plenty of times. And yeah, hearing doing it live, it is a nostalgia thing. But still, I'd rather hear Cygnus X1. You know what I mean? Or Necromancer. But I am aware there's a lot of people that love the Camera Eye. And I'm sure a lot of people threw down a lot of money to see this Rush show with the girl drummer. And I bet all that money they spent, those are people that like the Camera Eye. And since I'm not going, because I don't have that kind of money, or I wouldn't want to spend that kind of money on that, I hope they play the Camera Eye. Because I ain't going to be there. And they'll be playing it to people that actually enjoy it. Like Geddy Lee, because, you know, he kind of didn't like it, and they brought it back on the set list on that little Moving Pictures full album show, and then next thing you know, he did it again on the Farewell, you know. But, hey, I've heard worse, you know. It's better than anything off Hold Your Fire or Power of Windows, or even Roll the Bones and what's the other one? Presto. Those are that string of Rush albums I can't get into. I just can't. From Grace Under Pressure all the way up to Counterparts. I like Counterparts. I love Test for Echo. I think that one is pretty underrated. A lot of people bash on that one. I like Snakes and Ladders, and I especially love the last album. Clockwork Angel, I think, was their best album since Signals. I liked it even more than Grace Under Pressure. But that's I'm a certain type of Rush fan. My favorite Rush is the 70s, man. 2112, Hemispheres, the first album I love. I love Fly By Night and Caress of Steel and Farewell to Kings, and all that stuff, man. Hemispheres, I love it all. That's my favorite Rush. But there's a lot of Rush later on that's fine with me. It's that little middle period I had a problem with. But hey, there's a lot of people out there that do like the middle period. And for those people that like the middle period, let me know in the comments below. Or let me know if you don't like the middle period. Let me know what's your favorite Rush album. And let me know what you feel about Camera Eye. Because I know most people like it. I realize I'm in the minority, and I'm not proud of that. Don't get it twisted. Let's cut the deck. I'm not proud that I don't like Camera Eye. I wish I did like it. I wish I get the enjoyment you people that like Camera Eye get from that song. I wish I can get it. So I am very envious of you. So fuck you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching The Only News That Matters. And I said fuck you because I'm jealous of you, okay? And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Ring that little notification bell and like the video. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty. Listen to the song Ordinary Man by Triumph and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.